Hey y'all, I'm Sarah Wall in the Fox 10 newsroom. Thanks so much for joining us today as we go in depth. We actually have a very serious topic that we are talking about today. There's a new study out and a new warning out. Both have to do with AI chatbots and teenagers. So we're going to take a look at what this new study has found and what it really says to kind of sum it up. And then of course we're going to go in depth. But what it really says is that AI chatbots are very dangerous for teenagers. And there are a number of reasons why. We're going to take a look at the study. We're going to take a look at the numbers. We're going to break down which teenagers are on social media, how much they use it, which chatbots they use, all of those things. And then we're going to talk about what we can do to keep our children, our teenagers, our families safe, right? All right, so we're going to get started by talking a little bit about what's going on here with this new study or this new warning that just came out. Okay, so there's a new report out, and again, it shows that around 70% of teenagers in the U.S. have used a chatbot at least once, 70%, which is a very high number. And so concerns are being raised as regulators are working to catch up because this is new technology, right? It's come out, it's new, and the people who really understand it the best and how to get in and use chatbots are our younger generation. They're our teenagers. AI may seem like it knows just about everything, but experts say that is not the case. Chatbots are designed to be friendly and engaging, but experts warn they may just tell you what it is you want to hear. This can be particularly harmful to young people who are still developing emotionally and intellectually and may believe what the bot says, even if its response is wrong or its advice is dangerous. And we talked to a couple of people that are experts on this, and here's what they had to say.
Our use of social media tells a story of what happens when we're not mindful of how these technologies can influence children and their development.
When people express worldviews that are potentially harmful or dangerous, these chatbots do not have the ability to effectively push back against those worldviews.
Okay, so some of the things that they say that we can do to help our children, and we're going to go into this even more, but be curious and open-minded, learn how the chatbots are working, which ones your children are working, kind of get involved with what they enjoy and then use them together. But we do have some more information on that coming up as well. But these chatbots are proving to be actually very dangerous according to this study. And they say that there are a couple of reasons why. Inappropriate dialogue is one of those because chatbots can elicit inappropriate conversations, including topics like self-harm, violence, and drug use, which can lead to harmful behaviors. Lack of guidance, they often fail to recognize warning signs, and then they provide the wrong kind of guidance, right? Which actually could delay having qualified people get involved and helping. Misinformation, chatbots may actually offer dangerous advice. There have been situations, they say, where they've, told these teenagers how to actually hurt themselves, different strategies to hide if they're intoxicated, different things like that. And then there's trust issues, and this is one of the big ones that they're talking about. Teenagers may trust chatbots for emotional support, but these tools, obviously not the same level as if they were people. Okay, so I want to take a look at the study that this information came from and where this new warning actually comes from. So Stanford Medicine, along with Common Sense Media, did a big study. It was a very in-depth study. And the way that they did this is they actually had the people who were investigators in this kind of posing as teenagers, getting online and interacting with these different chatbots. And so when they did that, they were able to see what kind of responses that there were that came out of that. And one of the things that they found is that it was easy to elicit inappropriate dialogue from chatbots about sex, self-harm, violence towards others, and drug use and racial stereotypes. So they looked at 3 commonly used AI companions. They did Character AI, Nomi AI, and Replica. They did a comprehensive risk assessment with all of these, right? So they were trying to determine if they could elicit that dialogue, and they said they were able to do that. So they testified about this study. They actually went before the California State Assembly, and so all of this information is out now because they've been talking about this. So some of the things that they were able to to kind of hone in on is why AI companions pose a special risk to adolescents. Okay, and we are separating here the AI that they use maybe for homework help, or, kind of like a Google search or something like that, or a search on the internet. These are companions. They call them AI companions or chatbots. The systems are designed to mimic emotional intimacy. They even say things like, I dream about you, or I think we're soulmates. And so for teenagers, it's very difficult with the maturity of their brains and all of that to distinguish between fantasy and reality. They go into detail talking about like the prefrontal cortex, which is crucial for decision making, impulse control, and social cognition. Emotional regulation is still developing. So teenagers and tweens are more apt to act impulsively and then form these intense attachments, right? So they scroll down here, and how is AI different? They even looked at all of this as well. One of the big differences between talking to AI or a family member or a friend is the large language models that form the backbone of these companies. They're sycophantic, giving users their preferred answers. Okay, this is key. We talk a lot about how AI is designed to please, right? It wants you to come back. It wants you to get what you want from it. So it gives answers that it thinks that the person involved wants to hear. So the chatbot, according to this study, learns more about their users' preferences with each interaction and then responds accordingly. So this is a way that they can really it's like a frictionless, they call it, relationships. They are designed to not cause issues and relationships without any rough spots, without any arguments. They're designed to be really good at forming a bond with the user. So this becomes a problem because sometimes the user believes that these chatbots are really in it for their own, in it to help them and all of that, and they're really their friend, and it really is not your friend. It's artificial intelligence. And there are a growing number of highly concerning cases that they talk about when they go through this as well. So keeping in mind that they did this big comprehensive study, they were able to find out that there are some issues here that are very alarming when it comes to teenagers and social media. And I wanted to kind of hit on this for a second too. And I know we've talked about this and we've gone in depth about this before when we talk about chatbots and all of those things. But again, this is a new study that was just conducted and it was just put out with the information. But we do know, we have followed some of these things that have gone on. And this shows the seriousness of this. There are several families that have gone before Congress. They filed lawsuits, and they have said that AI, these chatbots, contributed to the suicide deaths of their children. And this is just a reminder, teenage sons died by suicide, and these parents are sounding an alarm about AI chatbots. They talk about ChatGPT and these things, and some of these parents talk about the fact that in one case, the chatbot offered to write a suicide note for the child, for the teenager. So this is a very serious issue that we are talking about here. And to follow up on that, just incidentally though, we have talked about the fact that there have been some lawsuits that have been filed, and we have an update on that as well in connection to what we're talking about with the seriousness of it. Character AI has agreed to settle multiple lawsuits alleging the chatbot maker contributed to mental health crises and suicides among young people. The agreement was reached with Google, Character AI, and its founders. So Google had invested about $3 billion to license the technology, the AI technology. One of the lawsuits was brought by a Florida mom who says her 14-year-old son died by suicide in 2024 after developing a deep relationship with Character AI bots. The suit claimed the platform did not adequately respond when her son began expressing thoughts of self-harm. The company has since implemented, it says, a series of new safety measures and features. They include no longer allowing users under the age of 18 to have back and forth conversations with chatbots. So a couple of things to pull out of this. Some of these lawsuits have been settled. These parents have come forward. They have talked about this. They've testified before Congress. They are really raising the alarm because they want people to know that there are dangers with this. So some of these lawsuits have been settled, but the other thing that's important to point out here is the companies developing these chatbots say that they are working on new safety measures and features. In fact, in this case, like Character AI has implemented a series of new safety measures and features. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But as we work through here and take a look, there is another survey or another study that came out to talk a little bit about who is using social media. So I pulled it up for you here on the screen, and you can see what we've got here is the Pew Research Center did a study of teenagers, social media, and AI chatbots. And this really goes into a lot of detail, breaking down who uses social media. I can pull up this graphic for you here, and it shows here that it kind of breaks it down by age, it breaks it down by gender, it breaks it down by where you live, how much you make, what political party you're affiliated with, what your ethnicity is, all of this, but breaking down which social media they use. This is not specifically related to AI and chatbots, but just showing that our kids, our teenagers, are very technologically inclined. They're online all the time, they're using social media all the time, so ChatGPT for a lot of cases just seems like that natural progression to use the technology that's available now. But the most popular of all of the social media platforms is YouTube. And you can see for US teens, 92% of US teens report that they use YouTube. And a lot of them say they use YouTube every day. Then TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat, those are the top 4 that are used by US teenagers, with Facebook, WhatsApp, Reddit, and X or Twitter in the bottom 4 for US teenagers. Okay, so the majority of teenagers that do use chatbot, they said, they did a study, right? A majority of teenagers use chatbots as well. And this is how it breaks down in the United States. Of teenagers that they asked, so teenagers being 13 to 17-year-olds, they say they have used artificial intelligence like ChatGPT, Copilot, or Character AI. There are a number of them that, that this study looked at, but this is the numbers and how they break down with who actually uses them, right? So 64% of all teenagers in the U.S. do. Pretty even number of boys and girls, 63, 64%. Ethnicity, we can see a little bit of a variance there, but for the most part, it's a pretty high number. A little bit older teenagers seem to use it more. Suburban, rural doesn't really matter. Household income doesn't really matter. Democratic Party doesn't really matter either. Okay, so about 3 in 10 teenagers say they use AI chatbots every single day. So taking a look at this, with the teenagers that they talk to, we have almost constantly 4%. Several times a day, 12%, but about once a day, 12%. When you add those all up, the daily use of these is about 28%, and you can see how it breaks down. Of the do not use chatbots, it refers to those who say they don't use AI chatbots or haven't heard anything about them. This is not people who didn't answer. This is how it really did break down. Okay, and then the top chatbots that kids like to use for teenagers, this is the order in the ranking. You can see the majority of them do use ChatGPT, and then they use Gemini, Meta AI, Copilot, Character AI, and Claude. So this is the people who are using these chatbots. And the question may be, right, why are they using these? So we kind of took a look here. This is from psychiatrist.com, and they talk about the fact that a lot of teenagers are getting online and using chatbots because they're looking for support. And a lot of times they're looking for emotional support, mental support, and that's why this becomes so dangerous. And that's the distinction that these researchers are drawing between using like AI to help you research for, hey, what are some sources I could use for a paper I'm writing about economic times in the 1940s, versus having conversations and sharing personal feelings and making a connection. Those are two separate things, right? And then when the connection part is where these researchers are saying that there is the big problem. So the clinical relevance here, what it is new research finds that popular AI chatbots routinely miss the warning signs and misinterpret teen distress, making them fundamentally unsafe. The researchers found the bots get distracted, they minimize risk, and often reinforce harmful beliefs. And when they have conversations that go back and forth, a lot of these are back and forth conversations. And you may remember that in the settlement we just talked about with Google, one of the things that they're eliminating for people under 18 are those back and forth conversations. So they are working to implement some guardrails in here. While they respond well to explicit crisis statements, it says they don't do well when it has according to this survey, they don't do well when it comes to more subtle things that children are putting out there. And it says that these tools are unsafe for teenagers. But what we know is that they get online and they get into these situations where they use the chatbots because they're looking for emotional support, right? So one of the things that they found is that the chatbots miss the breadcrumbs. They call them breadcrumbs. That's the more subtle things, the more subtle hints that teenagers are putting out. They get distracted. distracted. They don't kind of follow along. They place engagement over safety. They really want the user to stay engaged, so kind of whatever it takes to get them to stay engaged, regardless of what information that they're putting out. And that they shift roles, right? So they don't do a good job of staying together for it. But teenagers should not use AI chatbots for mental health support. And then, you know, we looked at this too. The Education Week put this out as well, talking about the fact that students are going online and using chatbots to help them when they're struggling. They're not necessarily using it to just get research information, but they are using it when it comes to things like really needing help. And that's, again, what makes this so dangerous. And so they really want to sound the alarm about this as well. A little bit more about the report that Common Sense and Stanford University put out. It concluded that overall, these tools, they do pose what they call an unacceptable risk, as the likelihood of a harmful event occurring is too likely and the consequence of harm is too high. So they're saying there really is an issue with teenagers getting hurt. The AI chatbots don't, you know, show what their limitations are. They're made to maximize engagement instead of actually directing users to help, and they can miss official warning signs and get easily distracted. And the problem comes because a lot of teenagers have used AI for other tasks like homework or questions, so they may inherently trust these AI chatbots with their mental health, but they say that is not a good thing because it is an unacceptable risk. It is actually very dangerous for children that age, teenagers and stuff, to be using AI. All right, so one more look here as we continue to kind of talk a little bit about what this was finding. And we're going to scroll down a little bit here, and it talks about what we can do to keep our teenagers safe. So be aware of the risks. Again, the new report is out showing everybody's teenagers, it seems like, in the 90s percentage are on social media. At least 1 in 3 have using chatbot on a regular basis, and more than 70% of teenagers have at least used chatbots at least once. And they use them for relationship and companionship. 42% of teenagers have shown and responded that they use AI chatbots for companionship. So that's creating a different role than just getting information. So beware of the risks. They say you need to stay engaged with your teenagers' online lives, know what they're doing, know where they are. You don't have to be an expert, but you got to get involved, right? Ask questions, check their phones, check their computers, develop that digital literacy so you understand exactly what they are doing when they're online. Make sure you have parental controls set up, and this points out that they only work if kids set up their own accounts, and then set time limits, right? Because if you can limit how much they're online, that would limit how much they're engaging with a chatbot. And then definitely seek help for more vulnerable teenagers. Don't allow them to count on these chatbots as a way of getting help and as a source of companionship. So again, this new report is out, and it's a little bit scary if you look at the face value of it, because it is finding that teenagers are online, which we knew, but they're also using AI chatbots. They're using them for companionship. They're using them for help with emotional situations and mental health situations as well. And this new research, this new study from Stanford University and Common Sense Media has found that these chatbots are not set up for that, and actually they are finding situations that are putting children at risk, and we have a couple of reports, as we've talked about, where we have had some really bad things happen. And as we mentioned that as well, y'all, just always remember that 988 suicide crisis line. If anybody's in crisis and they need help, that is a place you can text or you can call. You can also reach out to your child's school. You can reach out to your child's pediatrician. There are a lot of ways to get help, but the key here in making sure that we as parents stay involved and we know what's going on and we're paying attention to where they are online. We're looking at what they're doing online and kind of keeping track of things so they're not spending a lot of time with these chatbots. So lots to delve into, right? Lots of information that came out with this new survey talking about why children are online and how it's dangerous for them, but definitely have some information here that we want to make sure that we're able to bring back into our own homes to make sure that our teenagers and our younger children are safe. And remember, teenagers, according to this survey, is 13-year-olds and up. So this is lots and lots of kids that this is impacting, and just making sure that parents are involved and understanding what's happening so we can keep our children safe.